Welcome to the Pulse of Peter B. I'm your host, Peter Biancamano, and after taking the holiday week off last week, we are so happy to be back. We want to thank you for joining us for your one-stop shop for sports picks, politics and government chatter, and even some neighborhood restaurant reviews. Instead of going to 3 different channels, you can come here every week for the Pulse on everything you need to know. Why don't we begin with our picks with Peter B segment? And joining us is former NBC sports anchor and News 12 sports reporter, Matt Wainmeyer. Matt, my man, what's going on, bro?
I missed you, buddy.
Well, I missed you too. It's been a few weeks.
Yeah.
I even wrote that down. I was like, God, I don't even know how long Matt hasn't been here.
I know. But we're here now.
We are here.
We're moving forward.
And we're moving forward.
That's right.
Onward, as they say. That's right. So, this weekend, it's basically what all football fans would say the new season officially begins. And that's because it's the NFL draft. And why don't we talk about how the locals did?
Sure.
And let's jump right in, huh?
All right.
And let's start with those New York Jets. And in their first round, they picked Quinnen Williams. And I have to tell you, Matt, people are comparing him to Steelers legend Joe Green. That is a big comparison
High
right
praise.
there. I mean, my goodness. So, a couple of questions on this pick. Number one, do you believe new defensive coordinator Greg Williams hit the jackpot with this pick? And we both know that the Jets were shopping this pick around looking for a trade for this pick.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Mike Maccagnan was the loser in this pick?
You know what? I'm not going to say that because I think it's fairly common practice for any GM that has a coveted pick like he did and like he has the past 2 years. He's had the number 3 pick. They got Sam Darnold last year, Quinnen Williams this year. I just think it's standard practice to gauge interest across the league and say, hey guys, we've got this. What do you want to give me for it? It doesn't mean that they want to unload the pick. It just means if there's an offer from any of the other 31 teams that blows you away, why wouldn't you look into that? I think he was just doing his due diligence, and they were in a win-win situation. If they did get blown away with an offer, then sure, trade down, pick up multiple choices, multiple picks, and get multiple players. If you didn't get an offer that blows you away, you take the safe pick, you do the smart thing, you get a stud from Alabama in Quinnen Williams, and like I said, it's a win-win. I don't think Maccagnan did anything wrong here.
All right, very, very. So it's almost like a cat and mouse game, you would say.
Sure.
I mean, and look, it's the NFL. I mean, it's almost like Wall Street. I mean,
Yeah, it is.
Just in sports.
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
So why don't we just move on to those New York Football Giants? Because as we know, there was a lot of controversy there. And oh boy, Matt, oh boy. We had their fans literally on the spectrum from upset to downright livid. There was nobody really happy. But you would think you have 3 first-round picks, 3 of them, and they did fill holes that they needed to fill. But at the same time, I don't think the fans are too upset about the holes that they filled in terms of positions. It's more about the players, right?
It's more about the players, and like you said, the range of emotions from angry and devastated to jumping on bridges. I mean, you had it all. You had the whole spectrum.
We're not giving you any ideas.
No. I'm not endorsing this. I'm just saying this is how Giants fans were affected because you mentioned the second 2 picks. They got an interior defensive lineman, and they got a cornerback who won the Jim Thorpe Award as best defensive back in the nation.
Right.
So those are good picks. But the reason that nobody's talking about those is because there was such angst and anger over the first pick. And that first pick, of course, was a number 6, Daniel Jones, the quarterback from Duke. And the poor kid, first of all. I mean, the poor kid. He did nothing wrong.
Hasn't even thrown a pass.
Hasn't thrown a pass yet. Hasn't attended minicamp, and he is
Hasn't
just
even
getting.
probably landed in New York.
No,
right?
no, nothing. I mean, this poor kid, who by all accounts is a good guy, he's a talented guy, a hard worker, and he is just getting dumped on and crucified by this fan base. And again, I should say it's more Gettleman, not him, that's getting the brunt of this anger because Dave Gettleman, I think the bigger mistake, it wasn't Thursday night, it was a year ago when they had a quarterback-rich draft.
Right.
And you had all these guys, and okay, one of these guys is going to be Eli Manning's successor. They went for Saquon Barkley. Not a mistake because that guy could be a generational talent. But if that's your plan, and you need a quarterback this year, and there's, by most accounts, only one guy that checks every box in terms of a guy who could be a franchise quarterback and could be an heir apparent to Eli Manning, it's not Daniel Jones, it's
Right.
Dwayne Haskins. And I'm
Right.
not saying Dwayne Haskins is going to end up with a gold jacket in Canton one day, but he has more of a chance to. He's got a higher ceiling than
very
Daniel
good
Jones. The
point.
guy threw 50 touchdown passes,
He did.
a ton of yardage in a tough conference in the Big Ten. So he's got more of a pedigree. He's got more, more of a skill set.
And then, of
than
course,
Jones.
he's drafted by the Washington Redskins, your
Yes.
division
I
rival. You
mean,
have to see him
salt in
twice
the
a
wound.
year. Exactly.
And Dwayne Haskins, where did he grow up, Peter?
He grew up in New Jersey.
Yes.
didn't he?
Grew up in New Jersey, a Giants fan. This had
Did my
storybook-
research for Matt Williams.
There we go. See, he's on top of it. But he had, this was the storybook tale that you die for.
Absolutely.
And then
Absolutely.
the local kid, the Giant, he grew up rooting for, Phil Simms and Eli, let's be honest, when Eli was younger. He grew up wanting to model his game after these guys, wanting to wear the big blue uniform, and now he's playing for the Redskins.
Redskins.
Oh.
Almost as bad as playing for your Dallas Cowboys.
Almost. Almost. I agree. But to see him go to any Eagles too, to see him go to any division rival, that hurts
it does.
Giants fans
It does.
even worse.
So now, if you look at the picks that were made in the later rounds, does anything stick out at you? Do you think that there's a sleeper by the Jets or the Giants?
Every time I try to assess the draft, or every time I try to, make sense of what teams do or don't do, I go back to one thing. I go back to 20 some odd years ago when some skinny kid out of Michigan was picked 199th and only ended up becoming the greatest individual talent in NFL history, Tom Brady. That's a fact, folks. I'm sorry. You may hate the Patriots.
I was hoping for another trivia question. I was about Tom Brady.
yeah. But look, the guy's got 6 rings. He's the GOAT. And he was on nobody's radar, on nobody's draft board, 199th pick.
right.
So you don't know. You've got guys that, are the elite talents and they're going to have productive careers. But there are guys that could get drafted on Sunday in the 7th or 8th round that you've never heard of who could end up being, future Hall of Famers one day. So there is that factor to consider. And going back to the Patriots, you mentioned a guy that could be a sleeper. They drafted a kid out of Arizona State, N'Keal Harry, who's a wide receiver.
Yeah.
And I think this was usually the Patriots, they will draft to, to shore up their depth. But this kid,
He looks like he's going to be make an immediate impact.
exactly.
I agree.
And I think not only do they want him to, they need him to, because Gronk retired. They lost Chris Hogan. They lost Cordarrelle Patterson. So they've lost a lot of guys. Josh Gordon, too, and that just ended up being a disaster. So they've lost a ton of talent in their receiving core. And whereas this kid, you might want him to kind of break into things and eventually become a contributor, he might need to step in now and become a primary target for Tom Brady.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So the draft are supposed to make teams better. That's what the draft was invented for.
Sure.
Do you feel, going back to the local teams right now, that the New York Giants and the New York Jets are better teams after the draft?
They're not worse. They're not worse because they, like you said, they
Safe answer, by the way.
diplomatic answer here. They're certainly not worse after getting the talent that they acquired. Quinnen Williams is going to be a stud. He's not the edge rusher the Jets still need. Maybe they get him in a lower round, but the guy's he's only played 1 full year of college football. His talent's off the charts, and he's only going to get better. The Giants, with the angst aside from the QB selection, they did address some defensive needs on the interior. They got a lineman from Clemson. We talked about the cornerback from Georgia, DeAndre Baker, who won the Jim Thorpe Award. So they've done well. You can criticize the quarterback screw-up all you want for the Giants, but overall, they're doing what they need to do. The defense was terrible last year. They're going to be slightly less terrible this year, I think.
That's what I like to hear. Well, Matt Waymeyer, always fun to have in studio. Thank you for being here as
Thanks,
always.
buddy.
When we come back, our Politics with Peter B segment, you're not going to want to go away as we have Josh back in studio. Peter Biancamano, your hostess with the mostest of the Pulse with Peter B. Folks, we're only on once a week, but you can go on our Facebook page. In your search bar, type in the Pulse with Peter B. We're consistently updating new information on there. And then if you have a question for our sports insiders, for Josh, for our food insiders, and even for me, we'll be more than happy to get back to you and answer those questions. Go on Facebook, like, and follow us. Welcome back to the Pulse of Peter B. I'm your host, Peter Biancamano, and this is our Politics with Peter B segment, joined in studio by our political analyst, Josh Sotomayor Einstein. Josh, What's going on?
Good to be here.
Good to have you,
Thank
sir.
you for joining me today.
Oh, it might be turning into the Einstein hour very soon, correct, Josh?
I like the ring that has to it.
There you go. There you go. Well, Josh, on Monday, and nice chance, or nice shot. On Monday this week, it was Earth Day.
It's the best day, Earth Day. It's I'm from Earth, so I really love celebrating it. You know, so best planet
So
we have.
first
so far.
question: if you're from Earth, you should celebrate Earth Day, correct?
I do. I don't celebrate Earth Day one day a year. I celebrate it 365
Woo!
days a year.
That
So,
is
really important place.
that is
planet Earth.
dedication, folks. Dedication.
Our next planet, Mars.
Mars. There you go. Well, anyway, so on the actual Earth Day, which was this past Monday, Mayor Bala introduced a climate action plan that will allow Hoboken to become carbon neutral in 30 years. And some of the initiatives in this plan include purchasing renewable energy for municipal buildings, working toward the ban of single-use plastic bags, which we spoke about on this show, and basically looking for transportation options that do not produce greenhouse gases. How much of this, Josh, do you believe is Mayor Bala political posturing to the Democratic Party base instead of actually trying to save the environment?
So 99% of this proposal is nonsense. It goes against economic facts and ignores what people actually do. And there have been studies that have shown, we talked about it last time with the plastic bag ban, that when you ban plastic bags outright, people buy more plastic garbage bags of the 4-gallon type, and they use them the same way they would reuse the quote-unquote single-use plastic bags that were previously banned. And there is one part that is actually really, really good in the plan. The LED lights, they conserve energy, they cost less over time, and that's the only part of this plan that makes any sort of economic or environmental sense. When we look at the supposedly buying energy from renewable sources, energy, just like money, is fungible, right? Mm-hmm. So if you buy any energy, then you're supporting the entirety of the energy market. So any energy you buy, even if it comes from a quote-unquote green source, and we'll get into how those aren't actually green to begin with, actually supports the entire energy industry, whether it's coal or oil or natural gas or nuclear. So this mythology that by, it's a shell game, right? It's like when you go to the carnival or you go down the shore and the guy has the 3 cups and he's like, chase the ball. It's mythology, game, boardwalk type game politics. Doesn't actually do anything, makes people feel good. And it
takes
adds
your money.
Takes your money. Yeah, it's very important. I can't believe I forgot that. But really, it pads their perceivable or perceived, dedication to a cause, so that the politician can then run for something higher and say, "Look what I did when I was, mayor. I was fighting for this."
So it's political
then too.
posturing. It's 100% political posturing.
100% political posturing.
Okay.
There are true believers out there and who are part of the Bala Coalition. I applaud them for wanting to make the world a better place, but I also implore them to look at the data, and you don't have to look at a conservative source. You can look at liberal sources as well for the hard data that these things actually end up hurting the environment just as much, if not more, especially when we look at the pretend the pretend utility called green energy. Whether it's solar panels or windmills, they have to be made from these things called rare earths, these very rare minerals. Those get dug out of the ground. Those get, the 2 large deposits are in Afghanistan and China. They get dug out of the ground there in really, really carbon negative ways, and they get shipped in trucks and then on boats and then processed by using coal and oil energy. And the actual output is potentially more than if you just would have stuck to regular old coal or regular oil or the real green energies, natural gas and nuclear, which for some reason the whole environmental crusaders / jihadists want to outlaw and want to ban, even though those actually have the least environmental impact whatsoever.
So let's get back to environmental policies in our area here. And there's a controversial plan going on up in North Bergen to bring a power plant there. And there, at the same time, there's also a mayoral race. I believe it's going to take place on May 14th up in North Bergen, where the incumbent mayor and state senator Nick Sacco, a very, 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 very powerful New Jersey politician, not even a North Jersey politician, is for the plan, citing union jobs coming, etc. His opponent, Larry Weinstein, is against the plan, citing environmental concerns. Going back to Mayor Bala here, he hasn't really taken a stand one way or another on the issue. So here is our mayor here in Hoboken trying to make Hoboken carbon neutral in 30 years, but yet right up the hill, there's probably a plant that is going to affect the environment one way or another to provide electricity to New York City. I mean, do you think that this is, again, Mayor Bala playing politics and not trying to ruffle the feathers of the incumbent Mayor Sacco up in North Bergen?
Well, first we should really fix our verbology, right? Our language. Hoboken's not going to be carbon neutral at any point. No place is going to be.
That was actually my next question. You took it out of my mouth.
It's basic science that for every action there's a reaction. For everything you put in the system, something comes out. So they're playing pretend that they can actually make Hoboken or any place carbon neutral, and that's just scientific nonsense. It's gobbledygook. But when it comes to a power plant in the area, obviously jobs are always a good thing. The reality is I mean, I think the question we need to ask is, why does it have to be in the neighborhood known as the Shades? I believe
Correct.
That's where it is.
Correct.
I think power plants, again, it's a fungible commodity, so you can build a power plant further away from a built-up, dense urban area. We have the infrastructure across the country for carrying electricity, so it shouldn't be that much of a problem to build it elsewhere. As for the motivations of our local politicians in doing what they do, it's usually because they're fearful of one of the several feudal-like lords that rule over Hudson County, whether it's Sacco or Stack, and that's where you really get to see your local politician, where his ideology, where his commitments, where his actual beliefs really end and his political calculations begin. It's how you see whether or not it's BS or not. Because if they're not willing to stand up to one of their political patrons or bosses over an issue that they say is literally about the end of the world, then you know that something smells.
Absolutely, absolutely. So now, you kind of touched upon this before. I was going to ask you if you believe that the environment will benefit from these changes, and you said no, very, very candidly. But do you think that other municipalities will now follow Hoboken's lead with this whole carbon neutral environmental outreach programs that they want to do?
I think in our great state of New Jersey, I think other municipalities will sign on to essentially, what amounts to an economic suicide pact. Whether it's the massive housing plan that's coming out of the Supreme Court ruling that every municipality has to build, below market housing. Or whether it's supposedly pretend Green New Deal type legislation. All this ends up doing is it increases the outflow of people that were born in New Jersey going to other states. And the only thing that, and we talked about this before, the only thing that's keeping us alive economically is the fact that we're between New York and New Jersey, and those have a large pull from around the world and around the country. If we didn't have those two things, our population would just keep on plummeting, because you have all these things that people say are wonderful ideas, right? All these utopian visions, which can't actually happen because they're utopian, place that doesn't exist, and it makes the cost of living higher and higher and higher and higher and higher.
Well, Josh, thank you for joining us. Always candid with his remarks. Josh Sotomayor Einstein, folks, our political analyst. When we come back, we have Myrana here for our Places with Peter B segment. We'll be back. Peter Biancamano here of the Pulse of Peter B. Folks, get on our YouTube channel in case you missed any of our 20-something shows that we've done, and even our webisodes. They're all stored there. Go on there, subscribe to us. This way we can tell you when our new shows that are posted and our webisodes are posted. And, of course, you can always rewatch or binge watch those shows and get the pulse on everything you need to know. Welcome back to the Pulse with Peter B. I'm your host, Peter Biancamano, and this is our Places with Peter B segment, joined in studio by the lovely Myrana of MyGoodies.com. Second show in a row. We missed you so much after the last show. We're so happy you came back.
Glad to be back. Glad to be back.
Glad to have you. Glad to have you. Today, we are discussing Cellar 335, which is located at, of course, 335 Newark Avenue in lovely Jersey City. So, Mike, we love to begin talking about the location of the place. This is another place on Newark Avenue. We discussed Porta on the last show, which is also on Newark Avenue. I believe they're a few blocks away, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Right or wrong. This is a place that, again, I mean, we speak about this a lot, that you'll absolutely miss if you're not paying attention. I mean, I almost missed it on Google Street Maps when I looked it up. It's located in a cellar of what looks to be like an old hall type of building. Am I right or wrong?
It used to be St. Anthony's High School, if you remember what
Get
that
out.
was. Yeah, so
No
it is an old high school.
Wow.
And if you think that the name isn't more obvious, it's honestly in a cellar which used to be their weight room. And they've redesigned the entire, space, obviously. But the history of the building, St. Anthony's High School, upstairs is White Eagle Hall, where they have like some shows, some events. It's a venue. And then right underneath is cellar 335.
335, unbelievable. And now St. Anthony's, it only closed about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago.
Maybe I think a little bit more than that.
A little bit more
yeah,
than that.
because it had to take some time for them to, do some construction and some revamping of the building.
That's
but
unbelievable.
yeah, it
And of
seems
course,
like just yesterday.
yeah, and of course the great Bob Hurley with all his
Yeah, a
teams
lot of
there.
history
A
in
lot
there.
of history there. And I'm glad that they actually didn't knock it down.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
didn't, build another cookie cutter condo
Yeah.
building that's happening all over the place.
We
I feel
don't
like
need
in
one of
Jersey.
those.
You
We don't
certainly
need another
don't.
one of those.
You certainly don't. So now let's talk about when you walk inside
Yeah.
of cellar 335, or the former weight room,
Yeah.
of which made and bulked up all those great basketball players for years and years and years.
Yeah.
What do you see? Do you see a bar? Do you see a back room?
Well, when you enter, it's actually quite dark. You'll see the entrance. There's these two tiki torches, very similar to what you would have in like a backyard and like a barbecue. You'd head down the stairs, and the ambiance is really romantic, kind of dark on the darker side, but it really sets the vibes in the restaurant for what you're going to expect when you're about to eat or you're about to sit at the bar.
That's fantastic.
Really, really nice.
It's really, really nice. And I did look at some pictures online.
Yeah.
There's this rather large bar, like you said, and then the back room with a few tables, but very small, very, very small.
It's not actually that small.
No?
When you walk in, there's
Maybe the
a
pictures
lot
are
of table.
deceiving.
Yeah,
Right.
the space, because it's dark, maybe it doesn't open it up as much as,
That's what it probably
like
is.
on Google when you look at it on the internet. But when you step in, there's actually quite a bit of space, and there's a lot of really nice art, so it really opens up the dining room.
It's certainly like a hidden gems type of place.
It is,
It
it
really is. It really, really is. And good for St. Anthony's. They had a big weight room. Maybe that's why those basketball players were so good all those years. All right, that's the last basketball reference I'm making. Anyway, let's look at their menu, because this is a food type of segment here. So we've reviewed many, many places, and you've reviewed many places on this show. And this, by far, Mike, is one of the smallest menus I've ever seen. I mean, it's like literally one menu, no matter when or what time you go in, and concise. Like I said, they have 3 categories. And I hope you can explain this to me. They have by piece, to share, and large format sections.
Yes.
Explain away. What do you like?
So this is really a menu that's great for if you're going to be there on a date, but also for large parties if you want to celebrate a birthday, or maybe you're celebrating just something in general. To share, there's only 2 things. It's the spicy cornbread, which is not your average cornbread. It really looks like a beautiful cupcake with spicy cheddar, and then it's topped off with like this nice layer of cheese with like a nice slab of butter, and it's delicious.
Oh my God.
Yeah. They also have like a bao piece. So I love bao buns. They have a burger one and a veggie one. So those are by the piece, and those average about $3 to $6.
Okay.
As you make your way down the menu, you'll see that there's a lot of things from seafood to ribs to skirt steaks to avocado fried rice. So it's got an Asian twist on American classics. So it's a little bit on the pricier side. So you're here to maybe like impress someone or maybe to celebrate something, but a lot of great dishes. So typically what I'll get is the Korean style chicken wings, which you can choose from a lime soy or like I think it's like a spicy, I can't think of the name right now, but it's like a spicier version. And then you can get also ribs and their chilled lo mein crab salad.
Chilled lo mein crab salad.
Delicious.
Wow.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So, usually that's not really, what people like to think of lo mein is when
Right.
it's cold, but it's a salad as well, you're
Yeah,
saying.
it's a nice refreshing salad with the kiwis, seaweed salad, generous chunks of crab, and then they have like their vegetables in there as well. Really delicious.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. It's such a small menu, folks. I mean, you have to go on their website. You have to go try the place. I mean, it's small. It's concise. Again, and we talk about this all the time on the show. Another place that knows what they're doing, knows what to do, and do it right. And that's it. So now, you know that I love to talk about this. Their drink menu.
Yes.
And it's amazing, Mike. It's double the size of their food menu, I
Yes.
feel. They have specialty drinks, beer and wine, and even a two-tier cocktail.
Yeah.
Talk to me, Mai. Talk to me. Have you tried this two-tier cocktail? I mean,
We definitely have. I've only been there with my boyfriend, so we really tried to get like the second tier. There's a Big Kahuna, which is good for 6 people, which runs you about $100. So if you're looking to really party,
way.
enjoy food, and not have to think about the waiter coming to, get your drink order, this is something that's great for sharing. So very similar to their food menu, they have a tiered alcohol menu where you can get your specialty cocktails that run you about $12. You can get ones with like these island juices that they make in-house with like rums and all that. And then there's one for sharing. So there's one for 2 to 3 people, which I usually get the Zombie Priest Punch.
Zombie Priest Punch.
It's got all these like juices in it from like Guyana, from Puerto Rico, from Trinidad, and then they have these like Jamaican rums. It'll get you wasted. Let's just get to the point, right?
Yeah.
It'll catch up to you. It's like their version of a jungle juice when you used to drink it back in college.
I was going to say, that's one
right?
of those things that you drink and you don't feel it right away.
get up.
And then all of a sudden you get up and you're about
Right,
to hit
and
the
you're headed
ground.
to Porta.
And you head to for their DJ later
Right,
on.
right.
That is too funny. So Mai, I have to run this by you because
Yeah.
on their website, they say they serve progressive Asian American dishes best for sharing and tiki style cocktails. When you use a term like progressive, and Josh just left, thank God. It sounds to me that they're getting a little political here, Mai. What does that mean, basically?
Honestly, I think that they're just like very risky in their dishes. They're not trying to serve something you can find just in any spot in Jersey City, which is why they're one of
Unique.
Yelp's top 20 tiki bars in the area.
Wow.
And they get really great reviews, and that place is always busy since it opens at 5 p.m. every day. Closed Sunday and Monday, right?
That's right.
But the
I was
best
going to
time
get
to
to
go.
that. She's been on the show so much, folks. She knows my questions. Anyway,
Best time to go is a Thursday.
Best time to go is a
Between 5 and
Thursday.
7 because you get $2 off your specialty cocktails.
Well, if your cocktail is the two-tier
Right.
cocktail at $100, I mean,
That one's definitely not discounted because you already get the bang for your buck.
you do get your bang for your buck.
Yeah.
There's all this liquor in there, and you spoke about the uniqueness of the restaurant. Thank you for saying their hours. And by the way, folks, just to they are closed Sunday and Monday. Just to repeat what Mai said, Tuesday to Thursday, 5 p.m. to 11 p.m., and then Friday and Saturday, 5 p.m. to midnight. So very, very short hours. Thursday night, get in there, according to Mai.
Yes.
So we love talking about uniqueness of places. But Cellar 335, I believe, takes the cake. Can you really think of any other place that's similar? Let's say I go to Cellar 335 and it's mobbed and I want to go somewhere else that has the same vibe and maybe not the same menu, but the same type of vibe. What would you recommend?
I would probably say maybe a Talde, which is right by like Jersey Avenue,
I know where that
probably
is,
around
right?
there. Same vibes, same ambiance, and then same Asian influenced dishes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Myrana of mygoodies.com, that is MAI, goodies.com, making us hungry. Cellar 335, 335 Newark Avenue in Jersey City. Mai, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for getting us hungry. It's lunchtime, so
Let's
have to-
eat.
let's go eat. I like that. I like that a lot. Folks, next week we're going to have a special edition of The Pulse. We are going to be at the Arts and Music Festival in Hoboken, so make sure you come on by, say hello to us. We'll have some fun. We might even try some of the food there. We'll see you next week. Have a great week, everybody. Peter Biancamano of the Pulse of Peter B. We are so thrilled that we are going to be at the Arts and Music Festival in Hoboken Sunday, May 5th. We're going to be trying out new food vendors with our food reviewer, Daria DeLucia. And if you're around the area, it goes from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Maybe you can get on camera, too, with an interview or two. We'll see you at the Arts and Music Festival Sunday, May 5th, from Observer Highway to 6th and Washington in Hoboken.